Welcome to the fastest growing radio audience in America. From the city of entertainment, you are listening to Las Vegas Backstage Now, the only show that gets personal with the stars. Brought to you by Dr. Gary Lee from the Horizon Ridge Wellness Clinic in Henderson, Nevada. Dr. Gary Lee specializes in Botox and fillers at affordable prices and always offers free consultations. Welcome to Las Vegas Backstage Now with your host, comedian Michele LaFong.
Hey, and another fun show on Las Vegas Backstage Now we have for you tonight. You're in for a treat. We have two guests here. Our first guest is Impressionist Rich Natole, and our second guest is singer, variety talk show host of his own syndicated musical variety talk show, The Dennis Bono Show. But first, Rich Natole is sitting right here. I can't stand it anymore. How are you? This is so exciting.
See, even your voice is funny.
You think so?
You're just funny, yes.
You think I'm funny?
I think you're hilarious.
Wow. I mean, you know what bothers me? You would say that to me at a funeral. You would. I know that.
Because you would come in and lighten up the room.
Oh, my goodness.
You're just funny.
You know what? That scares me.
See, the people listening don't know that you're just funny even before we went on the air.
Well, that's why I decided to be a comedian, because no matter how serious I was, everyone just thought
they just laughed anyway.
One takes me serious. What's up with that, Rich? You know, and you're like a great judge because you're an impressionist, and I expect a decent impression of Michele LaFong by the time you leave this studio.
You see, I hear people's voices before I hear what they're saying. I hear how they sound.
Uh-oh.
You know. Really, like when I hear you, I hear your voice.
Uh-oh.
And then I try to recreate it
Okay,
later.
who do I sound like in your opinion?
I don't know that you sound like anybody.
Oh, thank goodness.
But yourself, but you have a distinct voice.
That's for sure.
Yeah,
people name that tune in one note. And I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing.
You know, like every celebrity, that they have a quirk about their voice, like Robert Wagner. You may not believe this, but when Robert Wagner speaks, he sounds like that.
And you look like him, too, when you're doing
He almost talks in syllables. That's how he sounds.
Who else?
Thank you. Well, you know, of course, the basic people like Jimmy Stewart. When he talks, everything is an R. You say, Mary, why do we have to have all these damn kids, Mary? You see, the hook is always in the mouth. You know, when Ronald Reagan would speak, well, it was right there, you see.
Wow. So are you rooting for a certain president because it'll be better for your career?
I just vote for the best voice. That's right.
I mean, seriously, you must have trouble doing some voices more than others.
Listen, I wish that Ross Perot would have got in. Here, see? Remember him? Remember him from Texas? See? I think he would have been a gold mine for comedians and impressionists, see? You hear what I'm saying, Michele?
You know what's
hear
scary?
What I'm saying?
You do look like the people. You know, if you go to our website, Las Vegas Backstage Now, we put up videos of our shows like a couple of days after we do the show.
Right.
And you do look exactly like the people you're doing.
I understand you had Don Rickles on. I love Don Rickles. Huh? I love Don Rickles. Nice to be here with Michele LaFong.
Wow.
Hey, thanks for dressing for the show, Michele. You're still wearing the same cap as in the picture there, Michele.
That's great. Now, you know...
it looks a little older.
Our next guest also had Don Rickles on his show, on the Dennis Bono Show, right? Uh-huh. And you said you worked with Don Rickles
I met Don Rickles decades ago when he was playing the Sahara, and Fred Travellina, impressionist that passed away a few years ago. Fred Travellina was a friend of mine. Fred introduced me. We went and saw Rickles' show. We went backstage, and he introduced me to Don Rickles. And I was very young, and I had just a polo shirt and khakis on. And Rickles looked at me, and the only thing he said to me was, "Hey, Fred, why don't we all pitch in and buy the kid a sport jacket?" And that's what he said.
You know what? It just hit me. Dennis Bono actually toured with Don Rickles. I got to ask him about that.
Yeah.
Because, so what did you think of Don Rickles? Was he what you expected him to be?
Oh, you mean when I saw his show?
Yeah, no.
Or just meeting?
Him personally.
Nicest guy in the world. Let me tell you something. Don Rickles was a pussycat. Nicest guy. I was scared, I remember. You know, I was very young. I was scared. I thought he was going to like be mean to me or something. Because, you know, we just seen his show, and man, he just went to town on the front row. And I was thinking, this guy's going to eat me up. You know, no, he was a great guy. great.
Wow.
Just a wonderful
It's never
man.
the ones you expect
Never.
that you
That's
need
right.
to be fearful of,
That's
is it?
right. Never.
Like, tell me, did anyone surprise you in this business? Weren't who you expected them to be?
I did a gig with Paul Anka about
Oh,
a
I'm
year
sorry.
ago. I did I did a charity event with Paul Anka, and I thought, I'm excited. I'm going to get to introduce Paul Anka. So I thought, well, what am I going to do? And I thought, well, I can do Johnny Carson, and I know he wrote the Tonight Show theme, right?
Right.
So this was a big charity event for all the athletes and the 49ers, and all these people were there. And so I'm ready to introduce Paul Anka, and I got his credits in my hand, and I do Johnny Carson, and I say, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce a man that you all know. He wrote the theme to My Way. He wrote the theme to The Tonight Show. He's a very, very talented man, and he's right here on our stage. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please welcome Mr. Paul Anka? And the crowd went crazy, and Paul Anka walked on, never looked at me, never glanced at me,
Wow.
grabbed the microphone and turned around and said, "Hi, crowd, how you doing?" And I was standing there going, wow, am I here?
So did you ever talk to him after that?
No, I wanted to go into Don Rickles and go, how dare you? How dare you not acknowledge Rich Natole?
So why do you think he didn't acknowledge you?
I guess I was nobody. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. That's a good question. I really don't know. I could never do that. I could.
Do you think he was aware of it?
How could he not be?
Well, you know what? A lot of people aren't aware of things like that.
I guess that's a fair question. Maybe he wasn't. In all fairness, I mean, I can't judge him. Maybe he had a bad day. I don't know.
Like, did he look preoccupied, or
I couldn't see. He was about 2 feet tall, so I was kind of looking down on
But
him.
hasn't it ever happened to you, Rich Natole, that after a show, somebody thought you snubbed them, and meanwhile, you didn't even know that they were there?
Yeah,
or you didn't
I guess
see
that's fair
them,
because, sometimes you don't.
Because it's happened to me.
Sometimes people are shy and they're standing in the background, and then they'll say, well, he didn't say hello to me or whatever.
Oh, yeah, and
I
then
say,
they carry a grudge
Yeah.
forever, and I'm like, Mom, get over it.
You get in the taxi cab and they go, I heard this Rich Natole guy. Oh, my God. Let me tell you, what a mean guy he is. Yeah. I don't know. It's possible.
Yeah. I mean, it's good, but you held a grudge a little bit, right?
You make me want to talk like Jay Leno. I don't know what it is. Every time I talk to you, I start slipping into Jay. I hear George Foreman's getting back in the ring. Did you hear about this?
No,
Foreman?
I didn't.
Yeah, July 22nd in Las Vegas, he's fighting Betty White.
I hope he wins. That's very funny. Do you do Mike Tyson? Of course you probably do.
I'll tell you something. I did Mike Tyson for Mike Tyson. True story. I met Mike Tyson, and he said to me, they told me that you're an impressionist. Would you do an impersonation of me? Do an impersonation of me. I like impersonations of me. So I'm doing Mike Tyson. I said, Mike, listen, I'm the people's champion. Nobody's better than me. I'm the people's champion. And he said to me, Mike Tyson actually said to me, he said, I'm a vegan, Rich. Did you know I'm a vegan? And I said, what's a vegan? He goes, I don't eat anything that was living. So I went into a Muhammad Ali impression real quick, and I go, what you talking about, Mike? You ate a piece of Evander Holyfield. Last time I looked, he was living. Yeah. He actually laughed. He likes it.
That's funny.
He's got a great sense of humor, Mike Tyson. I loved him.
You know what he does, and he likes corn, or maybe it's an ear. Something like that, and so much more when we return with Rich Natole and his new show that's opening at Giordano Theatre at the Fashion Show. We'll talk about it on the Strip coming up.
Stay tuned for more personal backstage interviews with the celebrities on Las Vegas Backstage Now. And now more of Las Vegas Backstage Now, bringing to you backstage stories with today's celebrities. Now here's your host, comedian Michele LaFong.
Hey, and we are back. And don't forget, coming up, we have singer-variety talk show host Dennis Bono, star of The Dennis Bono Show, his own syndicated musical variety talk show. And he's out at the South Point on Thursdays at 2 p.m., and he came all the way over here. And after his show, and we're so excited, but we have Rich Natole. I don't know where to start. Oh, my gosh, do I look right? Do I look left? There's so much going going on. So, Rich, I'm excited. Congratulations about your new show.
Yeah, thanks.
And did I pronounce that correctly? The Giordano Theatre.
Yes,
okay,
Giordano.
theatre. And it's at the Fashion Show Mall on the Strip. Now, this is going to be a 2 p.m. show, dark on Mondays.
Correct. 6 days a week.
And you're opening up in a few weeks. Now,
we're slated to open probably sometime in May. It's looking like
sometime in May. Oh, okay.
But we'll be open should be open by the end of May, very 1st of June, right there.
Great. We'll have you back when you open too.
Absolutely.
I mean, so tell me about this show and about this theater, because this is a new theater.
Yeah, it's brand new, state of the art, everything. I mean, Christine and Angelo Giordano really did a great job with this. It's about a 420 seats. 415.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
You feel the pressure?
Theaters.
You know what? The problem is in a 420 or 30 seat room, you got 30 people. You feel like a failure.
Then I go,
know?
What happened? Where'd everybody go?
But enough about my
life. Come back.
life.
I get better. Come back. I get better, please.
But are you concerned?
You know what? I don't think about stuff like that. I really don't, because I've bombed. And I've had killer shows, like we all have.
Right. So that you don't feel the pressure. I would feel so much pressure having a 400-seat room. It's like I was saying.
You felt pressure at the water cooler.
I did.
You know
what? I am a little high-strung sometimes. You think? And this is what amazes me. Dennis Bono, he tapes his show at the South Point, and he's got 400 sold-out seats every week. He sells that room out.
Wow.
And that's scary to me. 400 seats.
Well, I have
fill.
a great ticket price. You know, my general ticket price is $19.95, so everyone can pretty much afford to see me on a $19.95 ticket. And then we have producer seats and VIPs, which are more expensive. But the general ticket price, $19.95. I don't know anyone that can't afford.
Now you've done this show. Your show is called Voices of a Generation,
correct.
And you've done this show before.
I have,
and you've gotten great response from the locals.
Yeah, I did. I had knock on wood, an 88% recommendation level from the locals that have seen all the shows that gave me really high marks, and I was really happy about that. I love locals. They gave me a great buzz on the show, and they supported me really well. And I was in two different places. I started over at the Harmon Theater, then I went over to the Tropicana.
Right.
And then after that, I went to work with the great Wayne Newton, Mr. Las Vegas. And he said, Rich, thanks for coming on the show. And he's a great guy.
That's
Wayne
great.
Newton. I love Wayne Newton. And I was excited to work with him, and so we did all kinds of voices, Wayne and I, when I worked in the show.
Like what?
We did Dean Martin. How you doing there, Wayne? Somebody give me another drink. What are all these people doing in my living room? Oh, yeah. How long have I been on, Michelle?
It's not long enough.
And then we did Reagan. Because, Reagan and Wayne were great friends, and Reagan actually stayed at Wayne's ranch when he was a sitting president.
Really?
Which is a great story that Wayne told me about when Reagan was there, and he was walking around going, well, Nancy, what are we having for dinner? Where's the dining room table?
Wow.
Wouldn't that be cool to have Reagan staying at your house when he's a sitting president?
So do you do Obama?
Yeah, Obama, Obama, he kind of rushes the ends of his sentences. Let me be clear. Last week, the Supreme Court announced they would not be putting a live nativity scene in Washington, D.C. This was not for religious purposes. They just couldn't find 3 wise men and a virgin.
Well, don't look here for that virgin. I'm feeling the pressure
That's
again.
a little more information than we want here, Michelle. I'm turning into Dawn again.
I love your Seinfeld impersonation. You have to give me some Seinfeld.
How do you know if you're ordering seltzer and you get salsa? Is it salsa? Is it salsa? I don't know. I'm out there, Jerry. I'm out there, and I'm loving it.
Great, Elaine. That was just fabulous. So you come from the comedy club world, where I come from.
17 years in those clubs.
So tell me, what was the worst hell gig you've ever had in your life?
17 years in those clubs with Mitzi at the Comedy Store going, you're on after our gas.
At least she put you on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Then she put me on. She goes, you're too clean. We like dirtier, edgier.
Is that true?
Comic. Yeah, she did say that to me.
You're too clean.
You're too clean.
You
Why don't you
please
work
everyone.
blue? And I go, well, Mitzi, it's just not who I am. We like bluer comics.
Is that something?
Yeah.
That's
and I said,
really
but see, I learned a
interesting.
long time ago. In as a performer, you must stay true to who you are. You know, it's like if you're Donny Osmond, don't try to be John Bon Jovi. Be Donny Osmond.
Why didn't you
People
tell
love.
Donny Osmond when he needed to hear that?
Well, no,
Because you
I
know
wish
that,
I wish
you
I
know.
knew him because that would have been the first thing I did tell him because he's a great guy, Donny Osmond, and he's a great talent, and he's got a fan base, and people love him, and they need to know. You know, same thing with David Cassidy. If you're David Cassidy, you be David Cassidy because people love you. Don't try to be someone else because people that love you won't accept that. They love who you are. And same thing as a comedian.
Yeah.
If you're a guy next door PG rated act, that's who you are. That's what you go with. If you're Andrew Dice Clay, you go with that, you know.
Well, I'm sure Mitzi must have.
Hickory dickory dock. You know, you go with who you are. And that's okay that Andrew Dice Clay is Andrew Dice Clay. That's what he should be. You be who you are.
Exactly.
You know?
So, Rich Natole, you're going to be one of 10 impressionists in this town. And I'm just guesstimating who is here in Las Vegas. Who have you seen in town, impressionist-wise, and who do you think you are most like if you had to pick?
Well, I've always admired Rich Little. Rich Little talks like this, and I actually did my impression of Rich Little for Rich Little one time. And he said this, I swear, he said, by God, that does sound like me.
Really?
He actually said that to me, yes. And then he asked me how to show him how to do Robert Wagner, because he didn't do Robert Wagner. And I was trying to teach him, but I don't know if he quite got it. Thank you.
You know, Robert Wagner kind of sounds a little to me like Howard Cosell.
Howard Cosell talked like that. You see the difference? Robert Wagner talks like this.
He sounds like a little baby of
And of
Howard
course,
Cosell.
Robin Leach is somewhere in the middle. I'm Robin Leach, lifestyle to the rich and famous. Why am I yelling? I don't know why.
You know what's funny? You do a great Robin Leach,
I
too.
love Robin Leach.
Yeah, you do a good Robin Leach. When we had him on our show, he didn't yell, and I almost didn't recognize his voice. I felt like saying, you don't even sound like Robin Leach. Why don't you do a better Robin Leach?
I was so used to seeing him when he was standing. I'm here with the Sultan of Brunei and his harem of women. You know, that's why I asked him one time. I said, "Hey, you were at the Sultan of Brunei's house." He goes, "Yes, I was." You know.
If you want to go see Rich Natole's show, we have a link on Las Vegas Backstage now of all our guests where you just click on the link and it'll take you to how to get tickets to the Giordano Theatre at the Fashion Show Mall on the Strip, which I think is in a tremendous location.
It's a great location right across from Wynn. And so it's a great location. And I'm telling you, Angelo and Christine have done this right. It's going to be a great venue.
The hoopla with it's a movie theater, it's
the world's first hybrid theater where they're going to have like people can come and see old movies and different movies in the morning hours, and then on the first show, which is at 2:00. And then Arian Black, the magician, is going to be on at 4:00. And then there's 2 shows at night, which will be Senses, a review show, Senses, which is a whole production show, which is going to be great.
My goodness, how big is the stage?
It's pretty big. It's pretty big size.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know how many feet exactly, but pretty big. Yeah,
so how do you feel about sharing the stage with all these people?
I love it.
You don't mind?
I'm a sharing kind of guy.
You're a sharer because you're originally from L.A. You're not from the East Coast.
No, I'm not. No, I was born in New York.
Really?
And then when I was 3.5 years old, we moved to Northern California. I grew up in the Bay Area. I started with Dana Carvey and Kevin Pollak.
Wow, we had Dana Carvey on our show
great,
too.
Yeah, great comedian. I started with all those with Dana Carvey and Kevin Pollak and Bobby Slayton, who talks like this. Bobby Slayton. We started with Bobby Slayton. And
Rich
he was there.
Natole, thank you so much. We are so out of time, and I don't want anyone to go anywhere. Next, we have Dennis Bono from the Dennis Bono Show. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. Thanks again,
Thank
Rich
you.
Natole.
So much to do.
Stay tuned for more personal backstage interviews with the celebrities on Las Vegas Backstage Now. Welcome back, and here's more of Las Vegas Backstage Now with your host, comedian Michele LaFong.
Hey, and we are back, and another thanks to Impressionist Rich Natole for doing a great job on Las Vegas Backstage Now. And our next guest is the one and only Dennis Bono. He's a singer and a talk show host and many other things, and we have a clip of him before we do anything.
I'm drinking again and thinking of when.
Hey, Dennis, how are ya?
I'm doing great.
I'm drinking
Michelle,
again
nice
and
to see
thinking
you.
of when. How are you, Dennis
doing great.
Bono?
It's good to hear. Good to see you. Good to hear you. I've been listening.
Oh, well, thank you. And thank you for coming right after your show. I know it's a scoot, you know, it's like, I don't know, you have a band and everything on your show and you've got to do rehearsal. It's not like here where you just come in and it's like in, out.
It's fun. It's fun. We've been doing it, and it's sort of become a comfortable routine. So this was certainly no big deal. I was actually very honored that you invited me, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Well, thank you. So now you started. Actually, I wanted to play a song that we're going to play in a little while. So I'm changing this, but I really wanted to. I talk about forget to remember. So,
really?
But I forgot to remember. You know, I forgot to remember, forget to remember.
That's okay.
But I never remember to forget. Well, what do you make of that, Dennis?
Listen, you know.
So tell me about how that song changed your life, sort of.
It was it's a very unusual song, and it's not very well known. And
that's why I really wanted to play it. But we're going to play it, right?
Yeah. It was written by a gentleman who wrote "Going Out of My Head." I'm just kind of, my mind's going blank.
I'm drinking again.
Yeah, but anyway, it was a terrific song, and Mr. Sinatra. I heard him sing it, and he said to me, we were at Mateo's in Los Angeles years ago, and he said, "Kid, you should sing this song." So I always kept it in the back of my mind, and you know, I recorded it, and it's always had a special. It's kind of one of those songs that not many people know about, but it has special meaning for me because of how I ended up singing it. So and I don't need that. I mean, it's just one of those things. I'm glad that people like it.
We have the song now.
Yeah.
We're going to play it.
Yeah, thanks.
Somehow believe in living. Forget about the giving. Just tell your life it must go on. Run from yourself until you can't be found. But don't remember.
That's awesome. That reminds me a lot of Sinatra. You know that.
Well, it's just an interesting story, and you know, he had recorded it only for a television special. He had never put it on a record, and I had never heard it before. When I heard this TV special, and he played me a cut of it. Well, like I said, we're at this restaurant Mateo's in L.A., and it was written by Teddy Randazzo, by the way, who wrote "Going Out of My Head" and a lot of other things for Little Anthony, and he was a terrific songwriter. And I was just honored to do the song, and we kind of changed the arrangement just so that it would be, you know, something a little more identifiable and not so identifiable with Mr. Sinatra. So it always has a very special meaning. So when somebody takes a moment and says, "Whoa, that's unusual," I'm caught off guard, because usually they're more attracted to the the songs that they recognize over the years. So,
that's interesting.
Yeah.
For the very reason I liked it is
well,
the very
I'm
reason.
very flattered.
That,
Thank you.
So you started off in the East Coast, right?
I'm an East Coast kid, born and raised in Hartford, Connecticut, and
Hartford, Connecticut.
Hartford, Connecticut. Yeah,
Wow.
Yeah, still have family back there.
So what made you decide to make it Vegas?
Well,
or the West Coast.
I always tell the story. I said, I grew up in an Italian household where music was being played all the time. Music was just part of our upbringing. And we didn't have any great singers or musicians in the family, but there was always music in the household.
No other Bono, famous
No,
Bonos?
it was just music provided a joyous atmosphere for the family. And whether we were in a car on a trip, we were all singing. And I mean, I tell the story. I got my start in show business by being sent home from kindergarten when kids were doing I'm a Little Teapot during show and tell, and I got down on my hands and knees and did an impression of Johnny Ray and ripped open my shirt and sang Cry. And they sent me home and said, "There's something wrong with this child." And so that was kind of my start in show business. But, to make a long story short, I went out and just tried to learn my craft, pay my dues, and learn what worked, what failed. And I cut this CD. I went back to Connecticut and became an entertainment director for Sonesta Hotel. And
for which hotel?
Sonesta Hotels.
Sonesta?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And then, my CD was getting airplay on the West Coast. And Sinatra's guy, Jilly, called me, and I thought it was a gag. I said, "Who is this, really?" Because I knew who Jilly was.
Wow.
And he said, "No, this is Jilly. I want you to come and meet me in New York." I said, "Mr. S and I really like your CD." And I'm going, "Really, who is this?" and so I went to the Doral Hotel in New York City and met up with Jilly. And that afternoon I was at Warner Brothers. And to make a long story short, within a couple of months I was in L.A.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So
that's 500 words or less.
So what happened with Frank Sinatra when you met? Because Frank Sinatra and you met.
Yes, he was very influential, and played an important part not only in my musical career, but I learned many things from him on a personal level as well. And I got to know him through Jilly, and learned some things that were important.
What about him surprised you? Anything that you expected?
No. To be honest with you, nothing.
Notions?
Nothing surprised me. Everything that
was he as tough as everybody perceived him to be?
I found him to be the most charming, and the mistake that people made was that they were, everybody was a little bit aggressive with him, and you were better off to just kind of sit back and let things happen. And my experience with him was just most joyous, and I never asked him for advice, but because I didn't, he would lean in once in a while and say things like, "Kid, don't ever sing anything you don't believe in." And he would give me these little insights into things that became very important in my musical career.
Now, he thought you were the one to carry the torch for this kind of music.
Yeah, I think that's, carry the torch is there's so many wonderful singers out there that are doing the Great American Songbook. But at that time, I think that he might have recognized that I had a clearer understanding of how important this music was, and the interpretive. My interpretive skills had changed over the years, right?
How did they change?
Well, because as Mr. S, the same thing. If you listen to him as a young singer, he was a melodic singer. He sounded pretty and smooth and melodic. And then as he got older, he became more cognizant of the lyric, and he became the consummate.
That's what he's known for.
The consummate actor, and so those are the kinds of things that I learned. I stopped being just trying to sing nicely and just concentrate on what I was singing and tell the story and make it believable.
Right.
And I think that maybe he might have recognized some of that in me. And so he took some time to give me advice. And
so who do you like to listen to besides Sinatra? If you're putting music on, who do you listen to? Who does Dennis Bono in his spare time you're putting on the radio? Who is it?
Well, my next door neighbor is my dearest friend. Steve Lawrence is a fabulous singer. He's my best friend, and I adore his singing. I've always liked Matt Monroe. I've learned different things from different singers, and I listen to different singers for different reasons. Certainly Tony Bennett, and I like the work that Michael Bublé has done. Harry Connick Jr. Sammy to me was one of the most underestimated singers of all time.
You think?
Not only was he the consummate performer, but his interpretive skills when it came to a lyric were phenomenal.
Right. And you always know it's Sammy. You always know.
Yeah, very distinct, but his abilities to sell a song, as you get older and you get wiser, you can't sing about a broken heart when you're 27 years old. But when you're 57 years old, you understand what a broken heart is. You understand the mournfulness of a lyric. And those are the things that you pay attention to as you get older. So I sing a lot differently than I did when I was younger.
Sure.
And I recognize those things in certain singers. So I listen from Tony Bennett to Michael Bublé, who's very melodic and very musical, and I love everything he does. But I keep saying, well, he's not 55 years old yet, and when he sings about a broken heart, I'm not.
Really?
I don't believe it yet, but I love what he's doing. But I also understand.
Maybe he just had bad relationships.
No. I just understand that it's a process.
Sure.
It's a process.
So you think no matter what, because this is an interesting dichotomy, is because as people get older, their voices, like look at Whitney Houston, I mean, their voices, they lose some register. I mean, I lost register. I used to be completely, I'm not a singer, but I had a lot more,
your range was different.
Octave.
Sure.
And I was I wasn't so low, I was much higher.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because the maturity versus
that's right.
Yes,
that's right. You all of a sudden you stress different things. You start paying attention to, like I said, like Mr. Sinatra did. He became the consummate actor. I mean, he became a brilliant actor, not only in a song, but he became a brilliant actor on the screen. And part of that has to do with the maturity. You as you get older, your approach changes because like you said, your range changes, and now you stop focusing in on how melodic, how pretty do I sound, and it becomes, well, how do I make people believe what I'm singing?
Absolutely.
And so this is.
So do you watch American Idol?
No.
Why?
I'm not into vocal acrobatics.
What about the?
I mean, I know there's fabulous talent. Don't misunderstand me.
So do you know, I'm trying to remember her name. She was a little 6-year-old girl, or 8 years old, Ivanka, whatever.
Yeah, brilliant voice.
Yeah,
brilliant voice.
It almost sounded like it was channeled or something.
I know. It was like David Foster did a
What
concert.
do you make of that?
It's a very unique gift. I mean, it's just the one in a million thing. I don't even know how to explain it.
Wow. Well, we are going to take a break, and we have so much more with Dennis Bono when we return. Don't go anywhere, people.
Stay tuned for more personal backstage interviews with the celebrities on Las Vegas Backstage Now. And now more of Las Vegas Backstage Now, bringing to you backstage stories with today's celebrities. Now here's your host, comedian Michele LaFong.
Hey, and we are back with more Dennis Bono, and he was all upset because he remembered so many other singers who are fabulous and friends of his. Jack Jones, he was saying.
Yeah, I mean, the list is endless, and like I said, there are so many of my friends that I respect tremendously, and they all bring something different to the table. And, you mentioned Jack Jones. There's a perfect example of a guy who had the most perfect young voice. And as he got older, his interpretive skills had changed. And he's still very musical, but now I believe every breath that he takes, as I do with. But I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that I'm older and I hear things differently.
Of course. Well, the other thing is you have, at least I have 3 CDs of yours. Do you have more than 3, or is it 3?
There's probably, I think there's 3 or 4. Yeah.
Okay, and
there's
when
a DVD, and
there's a DVD too.
Yeah, there's a DVD too.
Wow.
So,
okay, when did you come out with your last one?
About a little over a year ago, and about to go into the studio and do another one.
Well, you're about to go in the studio. You know, Dennis, I hate to tell you this, but I broke into the studio, and I kind of what? Go ahead. Yes, he's talking to me.
Okay,
he's talking to me. What? That's fine. Okay, I'm being talked to by my own voices in my head.
Listen,
People
I got a
can't
lot of
hear
those.
that.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is we kind of broke into the studio. I feel a little guilty about it, but
Okay.
I found out about the song that you wrote about me, and I think it's going to be a hit. And,
I wrote about you?
Well, I know you wrote it about me, but that's okay. And we're going to debut it on our show right now.
Really? Can't wait
Dennis
to hear it.
Bono's rendition of Michele LaFong, I guess.
I'm drinking again. I'm drinking again. And thinking of when. I'm drinking again.
Well, Dennis, you think it's going to be a hit? Because,
it works. It works.
The Michele LaFong album, I think
That's
we
right.
should
I'm
call
drinking
it.
again.
Yes,
I'm drinking
I'm
again.
drinking. Yes.
Again.
You know, I couldn't get that song out of my head after I listened to it. I'm drinking again. I'm drinking again. I'm going, you know what? I'm thirsty.
Well, you know, it's funny. That's a perfect example of what we were talking about. You can't sing. To me, that's truly a saloon song.
Oh, is it ever?
And you can't sing that
Is he
when
a
you're 25
smoky?
years old.
Oh, yeah. It's smoky,
yeah.
and it's got all kinds of ambience.
Yeah. And you've had to have, your heart had to be broken for you to understand what it is you're singing about. If you're 25 years old and you're singing that lyric, I'm sure you can make it melodic as possible, and it's probably very appealing, but there's no vocal acrobatics. It's a matter of making everybody feel what it is you're feeling.
Exactly.
And that's what's so great about I can go on for hours about the Great American Songbook, why it's called the Great American Songbook.
Now tell us about Bootlegger and what you do over there and what Bootlegger is about.
Well, of course, I'm the luckiest guy in the world. I'm married to the former lieutenant governor of Nevada, and married into this wonderful family. And the Bootlegger, of course, has a tremendous history in Las Vegas. Going back, my mother-in-law came out here in 1943, and she's 95 years old. She's still the executive chef.
Wow.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Wow.
And the Bootlegger's been at this location on Las Vegas Boulevard for 12 years. Prior to that, since the 70s, it was on Tropicana and Eastern. Anyway, I was lucky enough to marry into the family and get absorbed into this wonderful, this wonderful warm feeling of family and food and
it's
laughter and music.
Hangout.
It's a showbiz hangout. We've had everybody there from Sinatra to George Bush. It's just an amazing.
Wow.
It's an amazing place with an amazing history, and if you really want to capture vintage Vegas, we have so many people come from other parts of the United States that have seen it on the Food Channel and these other TV stations, and they want to come.
The pizza is awesome.
Well, they want to come
favorite.
back and capture what Vegas used to be. And it's a restaurant that's 24/7, 7 days a week, entertainment 7 nights a week. Front doors, there's no locks. You know what I mean? It's
There's no locks?
There's no locks on the doors.
Why are you saying this on the air?
Well,
Why?
because we're
now
open.
I feel responsible when I break in.
No, there's no breaking in. We're open 24/7.
Oh.
Yeah, we never close.
That's no fun. I
Yeah.
can't break in
No,
when you're
that's right.
open. Oh,
But
Dennis.
it's an amazing, our offices are there. My office for the show is there. We have a recording studio. We've got it's quite a, and of course my wife is, she's just amazing. And I always kid about, I say things on stage that she was lieutenant governor and would have become governor, but nobody wanted me as the first lady. So it's we've got an amazing relationship, and it's amazing family, and a great spot for great Vegas history, and I feel very lucky to be a part of it.
Well, what's great is you give talent an opportunity to be seen with your Monday nights with Kelly Clinton, and there's a band, and people
every
can
night
go
there's
up.
something going on.
Yeah, I love that.
And our show, the same thing. You know, we have all the celebrities come on our show at the South Point every Thursday afternoon. The celebrities come on, and I always try to introduce somebody new, and we have working artists that are performing in Vegas all the time. And we just celebrated our 12th anniversary on the air, syndicated.
Ah, congratulations.
Thank
12
you.
years.
I know,
wow.
it's 12 years, yeah. And it really is the most fun I've ever had. And we have, it's truly is a musical variety show, and South Point is a great venue. We have 500 people in the audience every week, and it's just been a joy. You know, I mean, we've had some of the greatest comics on, and some of the greatest singers, and some of the greatest, and some of them are just so enjoyable to interview. Besides, when they get up and if it's a comic and they do 5 minutes to stand up and sit at the couch, sometimes they're funnier at the couch.
Well, that happens too.
Of course. And then singers, the same thing. Sometimes a singer gets up, and then I've had singers where they're not comfortable talking one-on-one. But overall, it's been such a joyous experience. I don't think anything stands out negatively. Overall, it's been the most positive experience I've had in 12 years.
Now, you have had the Smothers Brothers, Charo, David Copperfield, Debbie Reynolds, I mean, and the late Davy Jones, which
yes, not that many months ago, and it was very sad.
It's shocking,
to
wasn't
lose a guy who looked so healthy and so young and vibrant. I mean, he looked as excited about what he was doing as when he was
and he would have been more excited had he known that he didn't have much time.
You know, it's just it's sad. It's so sad when you lose these people that you grew up with.
And I loved him.
Yeah,
I loved him. He was one of the nice guys.
I mean, I've had dear friends like Bobby Rydell, Frankie Avalon. They're good pals of mine, and when we get together, it's just so much fun. But when we, Davey it's a terrible loss.
Yeah, definitely.
Terrible loss.
I really shocking.
Yeah.
So, like David Copperfield, okay, now
I loved him. He made my second wife disappear. He's good.
What do you mean? How did he do that? How did he do that? Are you sure you had nothing to do with that?
Nothing to do with that,
Dennis
no.
Bono? I don't know.
No, but all of them.
I'd love to be able to blame somebody for exes, maybe I should book David Copperfield, but I'm not looking to
He was a great
rid of
guest.
anybody.
Great guest.
Was he?
Yeah.
I would think he's more on the shy side.
He is. He's very quiet, very shy, very matter of fact, very eloquent, very soft-spoken. As I found out that most magicians are that way. They tend to be very soft-spoken.
Absolutely.
They draw you in to their conversation.
Absolutely. And Dennis Bono, I cannot thank you enough. We would like to have you back again.
Anytime.
Thank you so much. And please stay tuned.
And you can
just keep going. I'm going to keep going. I don't care.
Backstage Now.
Whatever.
The only show that gets up close and personal with the stars. Thanks for listening. And until next week, stay in touch with us on the web at LasVegasBackstageNow.com.